Hey, hello world, what is up? Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Matt Forte, man, and we are here live at the Build studio in New York City. Our next guest has appeared in some of television's biggest shows, man. You've seen him in The Good Wife, Mr. Robot, Younger, and now, beginning tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern on ABC, you could see him starring as Seth Oliver in the new Shondaland legal drama For the People. Ben Rappaport is here, everybody. Make some noise. How about that, huh? It's exciting. Now, before we bring Ben out, I believe we have a quick look at tonight's premiere. So, Luke, let's go ahead and run that clip, man.
I was never going to prosecute the additional charges.
Is this supposed to make me feel better about you?
We needed to pressure you to make a deal. This is business. I did what I had to do.
No, you did what your political, diabolical boss told you to do because you're insecure about working at a mid-tier law firm.
It was not mid-tier. Why are you making this personal, Allison?
It is personal. This is personal. She's a person. Her name is Madeline Locarno. She's 44. She has a child. And she'll go to jail. Why are you doing this?
Because I believe in it. Has that ever crossed your mind that I might actually believe in what I'm doing? That I might actually believe that Madeline Locarno broke the law and that there's some virtue in enforcing the law?
If you believed in what you're doing, you wouldn't be doing this. That's what I believe.
Oh, man, ladies and gentlemen, Ben Rappaport, everybody. Make some noise.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Man, congratulations. This show is fantastic.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I got a chance to watch a little bit of it. I'm very excited to talk to you about it. Before we get into any of that, I love kicking off, just kind of taking the temperature, seeing how everybody's doing. How is Ben? How are you, man? How are you doing?
How is Ben doing? Well, Ben is excited because tonight is the premiere. So it's like been a year and change in the making. I've been sitting on this thing for a long time, and I'm super pumped for everyone to see it. So I'm super excited.
Year and change, is that starting from day one? Is that from like the audition to the, or is that as long as you guys have been working on it?
Yeah, I'm going to say year and change begins with the audition. You know, and the audition for me, I mean, I happen to be in LA. I'm a New York-based guy. Yeah. I happen to be in LA for like a couple of days doing an audition here and there, and this came up last minute. So I had to go to H&M and get I didn't have a suit, you know, and I was like, all right, I'll go to H&M, I'll get a suit. It didn't fit very well. I went in. I still had the tags on the
hey,
sleeve.
You gotta bring it back when you're done.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so it was such a whirlwind, but yeah, and then I got the job, you know, shortly after that, and it's been a whirlwind, man.
That's pretty amazing. That's right, though. You did go to school here. You went to Juilliard. Right?
That's right.
Yeah, you went to Juilliard. It's pretty amazing. And it looks like some of the show, some of it was filmed here. Did you ever film any bits of it here?
Yes, the exteriors were filmed here when we're, you know, by the actual courthouse itself.
Fake, yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Sure. Is that fun for you coming back being in New York again?
I love it. You kidding me? I love shooting like walk and talks on the street. There's something so real and gritty about it that you can't quite fake anywhere else, you know.
Is it? I've of course in regular life experienced many a natural walk and talks. Is it more difficult to translate that to the screen? Is it harder for you to walk and talk?
I love a walk and talk. A walk and talk is like that's the instant fix for any kind of acting problem. Just make it a walk and talk. It's, you know, you give an actor something to do, it's going to play way better.
Immediately. Well, you know what's really funny? I was a big, did you ever watch West Wing at all back in the day?
Yeah, I've seen some West Wing, of course.
Of course, round of applause here for West Wing. Why not?
That's like the walk and talk like standard.
Yeah,
you know?
it's like the gold standard. And I was reading somewhere, or maybe somebody told me, or I might have just made it up. I don't know. But I heard that they did that because a lot of the dialogue was so heavy and dry that they were like, well, if we just have people sitting in a room, everyone's got to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So historically, that show, they were constantly on the go.
I know.
We went all over the place.
I know. It's realistic, too.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And now here you are, living the walk and talk dream, man.
Indeed, yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the audition and how you got into it, but this is, you're officially part of the Shondaland family, man. This is what you're in.
Yeah.
You got your ticket, your season pass.
I mean, it's very much, it's the ticket, man. I mean, when you get that call that you're going to be on a Shondaland show on ABC, it is like getting the letter in the mail that says you've got into the Ivy League school, man. You're in the club, you know. So it's really like it is very, very cool to be a part of the whole Shondaland family there, and it's an amazing company to work for. I mean, just everybody is so respectful of each other, and everybody's happy to be there, and there's just a great culture of respect and people passionate about their work, and it's exciting.
Has it? I mean, and you're no stranger to great television. You've been, I was saying earlier in your intro, Mr. Robot, The Good Wife, all these fantastic shows. But when you walk on that set, is there something? Is everybody kind of has that air of we made it? This is a Shondaland.
Yeah. There's a little bit of an air of like we feel like we're in rarefied air a little bit. Like this is a special. It's a special thing to be a part of, and you know, and people really know that.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the show. I want to talk about Seth. I love your character.
Oh, thanks.
He especially there's so many great characters on this show, but the thing about Seth, he's like almost too good a guy to be the good guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's his greatest
Yeah.
downfall.
Yeah.
Like his honesty, he gets his case taken away. You know, his trust. Yeah, basically ends up on almost probation because of the trust. All these, it's a mess. It's a big mess.
He's sort of like I describe him as like a guppy thrown into a sea of sharks. He just at first you're like, this guy has no business being a prosecutor. You know, like what the hell is he gonna do? Yeah.
So when you were reading, did you know you were reading for Seth? Were you just reading for this show?
Oh no, yeah, I knew I was reading
You knew
for
right
Seth.
away, yeah.
And I immediately just grabbed onto that part of his character. That's something I enjoy playing, and I often do play the guy that's kind of caught in the middle of a bunch of circumstances, and he's just trying to figure it all out. But what's great about Seth is that you're going to see throughout the course of the season that he starts to grow and change and sort of find his own voice. And also discovered that his strength that's different from his colleagues is not that aggro, super, calculating, scheming kind of thing. And his strength is his honesty and his warmth. And as the season goes, you get to see a little bit of that.
You get to start to see a little bit of that and see how that works out and how he kind of discovers that as the audience does as well.
Right.
It's exciting. Yeah, I haven't seen the whole season by any stretch. I saw a couple episodes. I want to say 4 or 5 of them, but it was just so much fun to watch just in that short span how much these characters are growing, how
You
much
see
they
a little bit of that
intertwine.
there, yeah.
You start to see it already, from very early on.
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit because this is a legal drama, right?
Right.
So I forgive my ignorance. I don't believe you've played a lawyer before.
I have.
You have.
Yes, The Good Wife.
The Good Wife was a lawyer, of course.
That's okay.
But I mean, when you come into a world like this, when you come into a Shonda show, are you intimidated by all the legal speak? All the legal talk and all that sort of stuff? Does that frighten you as an actor?
Of course. Of course it frightens me. I mean, my only education is conservative, not conservative, conservatory acting training. Very different thing.
Especially in context of
Probably
this
the
show.
opposite of that. The opposite of conservative.
Other side.
But anyway, no, I mean, it's great because Paul William Davies, who created our show, is actually a lawyer by trade. So he has a great understanding of everything, and it's very authentic. And so that it's helpful to have him on hand to help us with any questions that we have. And I like our show because it shows both sides of the coin. Yes. It's not just a one-sided law show. You're getting the prosecution side, the public defense side, and it's really it leaves it up to the audience to decide what side they're on and what their beliefs are. Challenge.
That's definitely a really fun part and what sets this apart from the myriad of legal procedurals I've watched in my lifetime. This was fresh because you were having both sides of the debate, and you were invested in characters on both sides as well, because you don't just see them as those opinions, you see them as people.
Right.
And then they go to work, and this is what they do.
Yeah.
And I do want to get into the specifics of that in a second, but before we drift away from it, was there what kind of preparation? Did you go to the mother court? What did you do to get ready to work into it?
That's the beauty of living in New York, is that it's right downtown. So Susanna Flood, who plays Kate Littlejohn, and I both went to the Southern District Court to do some research before we started shooting the season. And we sat in on a couple trials. We followed a couple lawyers. We actually sat in on a sentencing, which was, it was incredible, just the stakes in the room. And I mean, the drama of a real life sentencing is unreal. And it was just super valuable to get all that to bring it to TV.
It sounds like that would, especially within context of this show, that's a very valuable experience, because oftentimes, I mean, even in the debate you were just having in that clip that we got to see, this is a person. It is personal by the very nature of it. These people have lives that we're working on here. And talking about dealing with both sides and having to play both sides and see both sides, do you guys on set, with some of the topics that you tackled, do you guys get into debates when the cameras aren't rolling? Do you guys ever talk about some of the cases as well, off camera as well?
I mean, that's like, the scripts are so good that you can't not, and it's so interesting. I mean, just like our characters, they all come from different backgrounds and different ways of thinking. It's the same way with us as actors on an artistic level too, and that's what's great about an ensemble show like this, is everybody works a little differently. Everybody has a different kind of way of approaching things. And so I think that there's a great parallel there between actor/artist and the lawyers that we're portraying.
Did you ever find yourself, because a character will find themselves in this position where they have to defend something they have to defend, but they don't necessarily agree with it. Did you, Ben, ever have to reconcile with what Seth wanted to do within a script, and you just have to, I'm an actor, this is just maybe in this moment, this is what I am.
Many times, yeah. I mean, of course I don't agree with every single thing that Seth does, but it's a complicated, and that's what makes the show so great, is that it's very complicated. Even Seth, who says he believes something, like, does he really? I mean, is this what he really thinks? And how do things change? That's what really, I think, sets it apart. But I also want to say that, like, our show has a lot of humor in it as well. That piles onto this complicated drama.
Well, that's just it, right? Because it's a legal drama, but at the end of the day, we're in Shondaland.
Yes.
So you have all of this content, which is really significant content, really relevant content, but there's tons of humor, there's tons of drama, there's intrigue, there's all of those things that you know and love from that show kind of woven into it. That's why people get so excited about these shows. They get so excited about Shondaland specifically because they know that what that tone is and what that's like. Was that a lot of that? I imagine is there on the page, but a lot of it's got to also be in the casting.
I mean, a lot of it's
talent.
In the casting. Linda Lowy is Shonda's basically resident casting director for all of her ABC shows, and she knows, and they have a way of working and a way of knowing who's going to be right for what part. And Paul Davies, who's our creator, is a very funny man, a very smart and very funny man who has a unique sense of humor. So that really comes through in the writing, and so it makes it that much more fun to play. And what I love, whenever I work on a project, I like to get to know who the writer is, because that really informs how you play the material, because it's really like what their sensibility is, and that's the best way in, I think.
Do you find as you get closer with the writer, even though the character already has a very defined personality and a defined identity, do they ever start to infuse a little bit of you into it? And, like, do you start to sort of meld into one being as you get to know them more?
Yes. As time goes on, it becomes kind of a volleyball situation where first the pilot, they wrote Paul wrote the pilot without having anybody cast. But then once we all were assembled, the next few episodes, like, based on the energy that we brought and the dynamics that we had in the scenes, they started writing towards who gelled in certain ways, unexpected chemistry that pops up between certain characters. It's that's what's great about it, is it's constantly evolving.
You mentioned briefly that you had gone to the Mother Court with one of your, I forget which cast.
Susanna Flood.
Susanna, right.
Yes.
Were you guys doing a lot of fun little field trips like that together, breaking off into groups to sort of get that chemistry right, to find that vibe, and going off and visiting different places as a group, as a team?
We hadn't done too much visiting. I know a lot of the cast members, like, because we're kind of spread out. Some people were in New York, some were LA, but before the process started, and some people followed public defenders in other cities and such. But in terms of, like, the cast getting to know each other, a couple months ago, a big group of us went out in Koreatown in LA and had some Korean barbecue and sang karaoke. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that going on in terms of getting to know each other.
Obligatory follow-up. What's your go-to karaoke song, man?
Oh man, I love. Well, I'll give you what I did there, which was "My Name Is Jonas" by Weezer. Okay. Yeah.
Good pick.
Thank you.
Is it the standout of the night? Is there one everybody's talking about in the group thread, which we know exists?
Let's see. It might have been too much sake to remember.
That's the right answer. Do you guys? Is that the case? Do you guys have like a big group thread now? You're a big family. You're texting each other constantly.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a big family affair over there. And the only thing that's interesting is that we have the public defenders and the prosecutors, and because of how the show is structured, the public defenders spend a lot of time together. The prosecutors spend a lot of time together. So whenever the two intersect, it's always very interesting.
Well, that's funny. There's a great line. I want to say it's in the pilot where everybody's coming in, right, in like the second or third scene, and they're like, public defenders on the left, prosecutors on the left. You can sit together, but in my 20-something or 70 years
you
doing
don't want
this,
to sit together.
You guys aren't going to end up sitting together. Like,
yeah.
So I think that's really interesting that off camera, that they've sort of inadvertently kind of fostered a similar thing where you guys are divided. Do you think that's by design to help what happens on camera?
I kind of think that was a happy accident.
Yeah.
I think like the only times that you really intersect are in the courtroom, and then, in my character's case, Seth is dating Allison, who is a public defender. A
little bit of that Shonda sprinkle right there. There we are. We've got
right off the bat. I mean, that's episode 1. I mean, you can imagine the kind of tension and situations that spawns.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think it keeps it interesting. You know?
I'm very curious, with a show like this, tackling all these different issues that are very relevant and very ripped from the headlines sort of a way, thing that we're all used to debating at home over, Thanksgiving dinners and whatnot. What do you hope the place for this show is in a time where there's people operating with a complete disregard for any semblance of law and decency?
Yeah.
Do you feel that we're at a point where even our entertainment now just has to remind us there is a system, and
Yes.
this is how the system
Yes.
is supposed to work?
I think the great thing about entertainment and the powerful thing about entertainment is that it kind of can control the zeitgeist of what's going on in a certain way. I mean, not necessarily control it, but really influence it. And so we have an obligation to present to the world an ideal situation. And for our show, it's not a preachy show, but our show, what it does do is it celebrates the justice system for what it is, and it's a complicated system, and there's many different opinions about it and around it, on this side, on that side, in the middle. And what I hope is that our show creates sort of a conversation. I think in this day and age, it's too easy to be so far on this side, so far on that side. In the social media age, it's so black and white, and we've lost touch with a sort of a conversation and a back and forth about some sort of middle ground. And so I think shows like this can be a great connector in these dividing times.
For sure. That was one of the things I got really excited about when I was watching it, because there's an episode where with the whistleblower, right, where
Yeah.
we're trying to, and I thought I was very firmly decided in my mind. I knew how I felt about that. But there's one scene in particular where, as they're arguing back and forth, and everyone's both so passionate, making such valid, legitimate, intelligent points, I was like, man, well, all right, maybe, what do I think about this?
And that's the point.
Started to call things into question.
Yes.
And I was like, man, I can't wait for other people to see this show so I can talk to somebody about
That's great.
this. Yes.
Yeah, we want to create those conversations and also just the fun of being able to learn something from the show. The show is also educational. Like, I had no idea about half of this stuff until we started working on the series.
Yeah, I only now learned the term mother court, and that feels like I
Right.
should have known what that was, considering how significant it was going in.
Exactly.
But again, cannot stress it enough. It is those things. It is educational. It does spawn conversation. It is really smart, but it's also really funny and really
Great.
entertaining.
Exactly.
Again, Shonda Sprinkles. You got the.
Indeed.
We're in Shondaland.
Yes.
You cannot forget it. It's
Yes.
it's a fantastic show. I'm really excited about it. Are there any episodes in particular that you can talk about that you're excited for us to see without spoiling anything or giving
Yeah, I
anything
mean,
away?
how let's see how vague I can be, but tell you something. I guess from my standpoint, Seth goes on a very particular journey throughout this series. So I would say look out for Seth in the middle of the season. There's some stuff that happens that really kind of changes things around for him. And
For sure.
yeah.
So mid-season, we'll be keeping an eye out.
Indeed.
I am going to turn it over to the audience in 1 second, but there was one final question, and I am going to plug the show once more, of course. Guys, For the People is premiering tonight on ABC, 10 p.m. Eastern, and I cannot recommend it enough. But now I will ask that you indulge me for 1 second as I ask a question not related to this.
Okay.
But in doing my research, you had posted a picture of you and Tommy Wiseau with far too little context, my friend. There was no context.
You want to know the story of this?
What happened? How did
Okay.
you meet him? What was that like?
I am a huge The Room fan, as I'm assuming you are as well. Oh, hi, Mark. We could
hi,
sit here
Tommy.
and quote it all. Yeah, you're my favorite customer. No, I was at the Beverly Center in LA, and I was actually shopping for something for the TCAs out there, and I was in Bloomingdale's, and sure enough, Tommy Wiseau's there, and I'm talking to one of the sales clerks, and I'm like, "Is that who I think it is?" And they're like, "I think it is." So I never do this. Like, I felt this rush of energy. All of a sudden, I was like, I must meet him. So I ran after him out of Bloomingdale's into the mall, and I could tell he didn't like really want to be accosted like that, but I was very determined, and I don't know what took over, and I was like, "Tommy!" I just started screaming, "Tommy! Tommy!" And he looks back, and I'm like, "Hey, can I get a photo? I'm a really big fan." He's like, "Yeah, okay, real quick." And then as soon as the flash happened, he was gone. So it was a very interesting situation.
Can you imagine if that method would work with any other celebrity? You just start screaming their name at him from a
I know. But the weird thing is, like, being in this business, you meet a lot of people, you see a lot of people, and It never hits you like it hits me with Tommy Wiseau.
I believe it. Absolutely.
Anyway, yeah,
It's so funny.
it was an amazing experience.
Well, thank you for providing a little bit of context. I was looking at that picture, and of course, I'm not, without getting too stalkery, I'm like, all right, I think I see, he must be at a mall.
Yeah,
he had
yeah.
GNC in the background, so he's not on set. He's not going to be on For the People. Like, these are
That's
the things
right.
that are going through my head. I'm
Yeah,
trying
and
to
he's not
figure
someone
out.
that you see very often. He's
No.
like Sasquatch, you know. It's like, oh, I found him.
There he is. We've been seeing a lot more of him recently.
of course, you know, of
'cause
course.
disaster artist and all that. But it's still exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well,
All
I'm glad you like that.
Oh, cool. Thank you for that. So For the People, tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern ABC. Let's go ahead and turn it over to the audience. We got some microphones in the room. First question's all the way in the back.
Hey, so I was wondering if you could guest star in any other Shondaland show, which one would it be and
Ooh.
why?
I mean, there seems to be a lot of crossover in the Shondaland world, right? For me, my big way into Shondaland was Grey's Anatomy. I'm a big Grey's Anatomy fan, so I would have to say Grey's. Absolutely.
There's like a Grey's vibe to the pilot, too, as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit.
The idea of young professionals
Yeah.
starting out and coming from different places, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for that question. We've got time for a few more. The next one is right there. Green couch.
That question that just got asked. That was my question, which
Oh,
is
cool.
I'm curious about what did you do to prepare for playing a lawyer? Like, did you happen to take any law classes in college or talk to any lawyers that you know now? And
I mean, it's kind of the perfect storm of like having a very light understanding of it from, I look at I did 2 years on The Good Wife, and that was kind of my pseudo legal training. So I had a base understanding of everything, that sprinkled with a little bit of making it sound like I know what I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding.
That's the whole game.
I know, right? That's acting, right? Yeah, there was a lot of that, and also just being at the court itself was a huge help. The preparation for that, research is key. It's just key, especially for something like this. I think playing a lawyer, playing a doctor, there's just an infinite amount of it. And that's really why we get into acting. A lot of people get into acting. I got into it because I'm a history nerd and I'm a research nerd, so I love it.
Do you ever get too comfortable and then you go home and like your wife has to keep you in check? Like, dude, you're not an actual lawyer. Like, it's just,
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes we get into arguments and I start arguing like a lawyer. It's just like, come on, man.
like, this is me.
Yeah,
Not gonna work
It's
here.
not gonna work on me.
For sure. We have time getting the signal for one more question, and it's going to come from right here.
Hi. So since you've been on the show and The Good Wife, are there what's your favorite lawyer shows to watch? Not Law and Order, because everybody always says.
Oh
that.
yeah.
Everyone.
Man. Yeah. I mean, I
Do
don't know
you
if I
watch
can-
Law and Order?
I don't actually watch Law and Order.
Ah.
I've seen a little bit of it.
Interesting.
But lawyer show, I mean, I watched The Good Wife a lot before I was on it, so I have to say that. So, I mean, it's a little on brand, I guess, but yeah, I would say The Good Wife. Yeah.
Well, that does. First of all, thank you for that question.
Thank you.
But second of all, so you watched the show before you were on it. What was that experience like to sort of live in this universe that you'd only experienced in 2 dimensions? Up to a
There's so
certain
many.
point?
There's so many. That's what I love about this business is that it screws with your sense of reality all the time. Yeah, there's something very very strange about being on a set that you only know in the context of the frame, and that's it. And your brain kind of fills out the rest of it. And that's actually having that experience of jumping from watching something on your screen and having your own experience with it to being in it is actually a huge education, because you're like, wow, there's so much power in the art form of filmmaking and television, because it really plays. They call it movie magic for a reason. Like, it really plays with your sense of imagination, and you start to believe these things. I'll never forget, before I started shooting my series Outsourced, one of the executive producers of that also was an executive producer of The Office, and I am a diehard Office fan.
How many times have you watched The Office all the way through?
I'm on my third go around now.
Just keep going.
Yeah,
To the end.
yeah.
Go right,
I'll never stop.
Wife
I'll
and
never
I are in
stop.
like fourth, I think, fourth or fifth through.
Yeah,
It
it's
just
amazing.
goes through. You just put it on at night.
Oh God, yeah.
Anyways, you were saying.
No,
so-
yeah, it's all right. But I'll never forget. We were shooting the pilot for Outsourced. He knew I was a big fan, so he took me to the set of The Office, and it blew my freaking mind, man. Like it's like this is an environment that I know so well and I have so many feelings about and so much affection for, and it's like, but there's no wall here? Wait a second. Like, oh, there's no ceiling here? Like, it's just, it blows your mind. And I also had a similar experience on Grey's Anatomy. They actually let me visit Grey's Anatomy when I was doing the pilot for this because they knew how much of a fan. There's a pattern here. They knew I was a big fan. And I basically hung out with Ellen Pompeo for a couple of hours, and she brought me around the massive hospital set that they have. And it's amazing. They have all these sound stages, and it's this system of a hospital, and you totally believe it. And then on the other side of it, it's just a flat. It's just a fake wall, you know? Anyway, I could go into this for hours.
No, I mean it's brilliant. It's pretty much all that money and time at Juilliard is just because the studio tours. That's it.
That's it.
Yeah. It's just so you can get in.
That's
some
right.
Exclusive studio
Just,
tours.
yeah, that's right.
Pretty amazing.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that's it, right? Yep, that's the signal. We're done with questions. We're done with the whole thing. I could talk to you forever, man, about this. This is so much fun,
Same.
but I got to let you go. Congratulations again. Big night. Tonight is the premiere, everybody. ABC, 10 p.m. Eastern for the people. Please do me a favor and make some noise one more time for Ben Rappaport. How
Thank
great
you guys.
was Ben? Come on.
Thank you very much.